Hello and welcome to All Rise. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You won't believe what happens next. The courtroom went silent when the bailiff snapped handcuffs on Sarah Chen's interpreter. Not the defendant, the interpreter. Judge Frank Caprio looked up from his bench, his reading glasses sliding down his nose. In 40 years on the bench, he'd seen everything. Drug dealers, con artists, parking ticket scammers who'd lie to your face. But this was different. Sarah Chen stood frozen at the defendant's table. Her hands moved frantically in the air, signing something nobody in the courtroom could understand. Her face was pale, terrified. The interpreter, a woman named Monica Torres, didn't resist. She just looked at Sarah with tears streaming down her face and mouthed two words: "I'm sorry." But let me back up, because what happened that morning in Providence Municipal Court would become the most watched court video of the decade. And it all started 3 hours earlier. Sarah Chen woke up that morning to her apartment door being kicked in. She couldn't hear it, of course. She'd been profoundly deaf since birth, but she felt the vibration through her pillow, felt the heavy footsteps shaking the floor. She sat up in bed, heart hammering. Three figures in her bedroom doorway, dark clothes, flashlights in her face. Police. Her hands flew up instinctively. Signing. What's happening? What did I do? But they couldn't understand her, and she couldn't read their lips in the dark with those bright lights blinding her. One officer grabbed her arm, pulled her out of bed. She was wearing pajamas, her hair a mess. She tried signing again, tried to make them understand. Nothing. They handcuffed her, right there in her bedroom. The metal was cold against her wrists. She started crying. Not because she was guilty of anything, but because she was absolutely terrified and had no idea why this was happening. The officer holding her arm softened slightly. He pulled out his phone and typed, "Parking tickets, warrant for your arrest, unpaid fines." Sarah's eyes went wide. She shook her head violently. She'd paid those tickets. Months ago, online. She had the confirmation emails. She gestured toward her desk, tried to show them, but they weren't interested. The warrant said failure to pay. The system said she owed $2,847 in accumulated fines and fees. The system was wrong, but the system doesn't care. Have you ever felt completely helpless? Unable to make anyone understand you? Tell us in the comments below. They took her to the station, processed her, put her in a holding cell with three other women who stared at her like she was an alien when she tried to communicate. She sat in that cell for 2 hours. Cold concrete, fluorescent lights, the smell of industrial cleaner, and desperation. Finally, a different officer appeared, a woman. She typed on her phone, "You have court today, 10 a.m., Judge Caprio." Sarah had heard of Judge Caprio. Everyone in Providence had. The compassionate judge, the one who listened, the one who gave people a chance. Maybe, just maybe, he would listen to her too. But there was a problem, a big problem. The court-appointed interpreter who was supposed to meet Sarah that morning never showed up. Some traffic accident on I-95. A 10-car pileup that had backed up traffic for miles. The clerk called the backup interpreter. No answer. They were scrambling. Sarah's case was scheduled for 10 a.m. sharp. Judge Caprio ran a tight ship. He hated delays. And that's when Monica Torres walked through the courthouse door. Monica Torres wasn't supposed to be there that morning. She was a certified ASL interpreter, yes. She'd worked in the Providence court system for 8 years. Never a single complaint. Professional, reliable, kind. But that morning she wasn't scheduled to work. She just happened to be there dropping off paperwork from a previous case. The clerk saw her and practically lunged across the counter. "Monica, thank God. We need an interpreter for Judge Caprio's court. Right now, emergency." Monica hesitated. She had somewhere else to be, something important. But she looked at the clerk's desperate face and nodded. "Of course," she said, "show me the case file." The clerk handed her a thin folder. Sarah Chen, deaf, parking violations, failure to pay. Monica scanned it quickly. Straightforward case. Shouldn't take long. She had no idea what was about to happen. Pause for a second. Would you help a stranger if it meant derailing your own plans? Let us know below. Judge Frank Caprio entered his courtroom at exactly 9:58 a.m. The bailiff called out, "All rise!" Everyone stood. Judge Caprio took his seat at the bench. He was 78 years old, but still sharp as a tack. White hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. A face that had seen every kind of human struggle. He looked at the docket. First case, Sarah Chen. "Bring in Ms. Chen," he said. The side door opened. Sarah walked in, still wearing the clothes they had arrested her in that morning. Wrinkled t-shirt, jeans, no shoes, just white socks. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked young, vulnerable, scared. Behind her walked Monica Torres. Judge Caprio noticed immediately. He always noticed everything. "Good morning, Ms. Chen," he said, looking directly at Sarah. "I understand you're deaf and you'll need an interpreter today." Monica stepped forward and began signing. Her hands moved fluidly, translating his words. Sarah nodded. Her hands moved in response. "Yes, Your Honor. Thank you." Monica translated aloud. "She says yes, Your Honor. Thank you." Judge Caprio smiled gently. "Ms. Chen, you're here today because there's a warrant for your arrest. The city says you owe $2,847 in unpaid parking tickets and late fees. Do you understand?" Monica signed. Sarah's face crumpled. Her hands flew, fast and emotional. Monica translated. "Your Honor, I paid those tickets months ago. I have proof, the emails, the bank records. I paid everything." Judge Caprio leaned forward. "Then why does the system show unpaid?" Sarah signed again, her eyes filling with tears. Monica translated. "I don't know, but I paid. I swear I paid. I would never ignore something like this." The prosecutor, a young woman in a crisp suit, stood up. "Your Honor, our records clearly show." Judge Caprio held up a hand. "I'd like to see Ms. Chen's proof before we proceed." Sarah's hands moved desperately. Monica translated. "It's all on my phone. But they took it when they arrested me this morning. It's in evidence." Judge Caprio looked at the bailiff. "Can we retrieve Ms. Chen's phone?" The bailiff nodded and left the courtroom. An uncomfortable silence fell. Sarah stood there, hands clasped in front of her, Monica beside her. And then Judge Caprio did something unexpected. He started signing. His hands moved slowly, deliberately. Not fluent, but comprehensible. "Don't worry, we'll figure this out." Sarah's eyes went wide. Monica looked shocked. Judge Caprio smiled. "My grandson is deaf. He's teaching me. I'm not very good yet." Sarah's face transformed. For the first time that morning, she smiled. "Did that give you chills?" "Show us with a like if you're loving this story." The bailiff returned with Sarah's phone in an evidence bag. Judge Caprio gestured. "Ms. Chen, please come forward and show us your proof." Sarah approached the bench, Monica right beside her. She unlocked her phone with trembling fingers and pulled up her email. There they were, confirmation emails, payment receipts, transaction numbers, everything. Judge Caprio examined them carefully. He looked at the dates, the amounts, then he looked at the prosecutor. "These receipts show payment in full 3 months ago." The prosecutor frowned. "Your Honor, I don't understand. Our system shows—" "Your system is wrong," Judge Caprio said firmly. "Ms. Chen paid what she owed. This warrant should never have been issued." The prosecutor looked flustered. "I'll need to verify this with—" "You'll verify it now," Judge Caprio interrupted. "This young woman was dragged out of her home this morning, arrested, held in a cell for hours, for a debt she doesn't owe. I want answers." The prosecutor made a phone call right there in the courtroom. 5 minutes later, she hung up. Her face was pale. "Your Honor, there was an error in our system, a payment processing glitch. Ms. Chen's payment was received but not properly recorded. The warrant was issued in error." The courtroom murmured. Judge Caprio's expression darkened. "An error? Ms. Chen was arrested because of a computer glitch?" "Yes, Your Honor. I sincerely apologize." Judge Caprio looked at Sarah. His voice was gentle, but his eyes were angry. "Ms. Chen, on behalf of this court, I apologize for what happened to you today. This should never have occurred. Your warrant is dismissed. All charges dismissed. You're free to go." Monica signed. Sarah's shoulders sagged with relief. She wiped her eyes. But Judge Caprio wasn't done. Furthermore, he continued, I'm ordering the city to refund any fees Ms. Chen paid, plus compensation for her time and distress. And I want a full investigation into this payment system error. If it happened to Ms. Chen, it's probably happened to others. The prosecutor nodded quickly. Yes, Your Honor. Sarah signed something. Monica translated. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you so much. Judge Caprio smiled. You're welcome. And Ms. Chen, next time you park, maybe try to find a spot that's not in front of a fire hydrant. He winked. Sarah laughed, a real, genuine laugh that filled the silent courtroom with light. And that should have been the end of it. A feel-good story. Justice served, case dismissed. But then everything went sideways. Wait for it. This is where it gets absolutely crazy. As Sarah turned to leave, two men in suits entered the courtroom from the back. Not police, federal agents. Everyone felt it. The shift in the air, the sudden tension. The agents walked straight toward the defendant's table, straight toward Monica Torres. Judge Caprio looked up, confused. Can I help you, gentlemen? The first agent pulled out a badge. FBI, we have a warrant for the arrest of Monica Torres. The courtroom gasped. Monica went white. Her hands dropped to her sides. Sarah turned around, confused. She couldn't hear what was happening, but she could see Monica's face. Judge Caprio stood up. Excuse me? This woman is a court interpreter. What are the charges? The agent's voice was cold. Fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. Ms. Torres has been using her position to access confidential court records for the past 2 years. She's part of a criminal network selling information to defense attorneys and bail bondsmen. Monica's legs gave out. She grabbed the table for support. Sarah saw her interpreter crumbling and stepped forward instinctively, trying to help, not understanding. Judge Caprio's face went through several emotions: shock, betrayal, anger. Monica, he said quietly, is this true? Monica looked at him, tears streaming down her face, and slowly she nodded. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. The second agent pulled out handcuffs, and that's when Sarah understood. She couldn't hear the words, but she could see what was happening. They were arresting Monica, her interpreter, the woman who just helped her. Sarah's hands moved frantically. She was signing to Monica, fast, desperate. Monica looked at her and somehow, through her tears, managed to sign back. I'm sorry, you'll be okay. I promise, poem. Then the handcuffs clicked shut. The agents led Monica toward the exit. She didn't resist, just walked like a ghost. The courtroom was dead silent. Sarah stood alone at the defendant's table, her hands still raised in the air, signing to someone who could no longer see her. Can you imagine? One moment you're free, the next your only lifeline is taken away in handcuffs. Judge Caprio sat back down slowly. He looked at Sarah, who was now visibly panicking. No interpreter, no way to communicate, no idea what had just happened. He looked at the packed courtroom. Cameras, media, this was all being recorded. And then Judge Frank Caprio did something that would make him famous worldwide. He stood up again. He stepped down from his bench, something judges rarely do. He walked across the courtroom floor, directly to Sarah. The bailiff started to say something, but Judge Caprio waved him off. He stood in front of Sarah, this scared young woman who'd been through hell that morning. And he started signing, not perfectly, not fluently, but with everything he had. You're safe, you're okay. I'm here. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Judge Caprio continued signing. I know you're scared, but you did nothing wrong. You're free, you can go home. Sarah's hands moved. What happened? Why did they take her? Judge Caprio hesitated. How do you explain corruption and betrayal in sign language you barely know? He did his best. She made bad choices. She hurt people. But not you. You are innocent. Sarah nodded slowly, understanding. Then she signed something that made Judge Caprio's eyes water. Thank you for seeing me, for treating me like a person. Judge Caprio signed back. You are a person, and you deserve respect. In that moment, the courtroom erupted in applause. People were crying. The bailiff was wiping his eyes. Even the prosecutor looked emotional. The court reporter later said it was the most beautiful moment she'd witnessed in 30 years. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and join the All Rise family. But the story doesn't end there. Judge Caprio ordered the court to find another certified interpreter immediately. He personally waited with Sarah for 45 minutes until one arrived. He made sure she got her phone back, her belongings, her dignity. He wrote a personal letter to the police department criticizing the system that had failed her. And he launched an investigation into how many other people might have been wrongly arrested due to the payment processing error. It turned out there were 47 others, 47 people arrested for debts they'd already paid. Judge Caprio made sure every single case was reviewed and dismissed. As for Monica Torres, the FBI investigation revealed she'd been selling confidential information for over 2 years. Court dates, defendant records, witness information. She'd made over $200,000. But here's the thing, she'd used almost all of that money to pay for her daughter's cancer treatments. Experimental therapy not covered by insurance. Her daughter was now in remission. When that came out during her trial, Judge Caprio wrote a letter to the federal judge, not excusing what Monica did, but explaining the context, the desperation. Monica was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, far less than she could have received. Her daughter visited her every week. What would you do if your child was dying and you couldn't afford treatment? Heavy question, but we want to hear your thoughts. Sarah Chen went back to her life, back to her small apartment and her job at a nonprofit for deaf children. But she carried something with her now, a memory of a judge who stepped down from his bench and met her where she was, who saw her not as a case number, but as a human being. 6 months later, Sarah sent Judge Caprio a letter, written in English because she wanted him to read it himself. It said, "Dear Judge Caprio, I want to thank you for what you did for me, not just dismissing my case, but for signing to me, for learning my language, for treating me like I mattered. You didn't have to do that. Most people don't. Most people see my deafness and immediately decide I'm less than. But you saw me, really saw me. I'm studying to become a lawyer now because of you. I want to help people the way you helped me. I want to make sure nobody else feels invisible. Thank you for reminding me that justice isn't just about the law, it's about humanity. With gratitude, Sarah Chen." Judge Caprio kept that letter in his desk drawer. He'd pull it out sometimes when he had a hard day, when he felt like the system was too broken to fix. And it reminded him why he became a judge in the first place. The video of Judge Caprio signing to Sarah went viral. Over 40 million views across all platforms. News outlets covered it. Judge abandons bench to communicate with deaf defendant. Late-night talk shows praised him. But Judge Caprio brushed it all off. "I didn't do anything special," he told reporters. "I just treated someone with kindness. That's not extraordinary. That's basic human decency." But in a world where basic human decency feels increasingly rare, that moment was revolutionary. Here's what this story teaches us. The system doesn't care about you. It's just computers and paperwork. But people can choose to care. Judge Caprio didn't have to step down from his bench. He didn't have to try to communicate in a language he barely knew. He could have just found another interpreter and moved on with his day. But he chose differently. He chose to see Sarah as a human being first, a deaf woman second, a defendant third. That choice changed Sarah's life. And Monica Torres, her story is complicated. She did wrong. She broke the law. But she did it trying to save her daughter's life. Does that excuse it? No. Does it explain it? Maybe. Judge Caprio didn't excuse it either, but he recognized the humanity in it, the desperation of a mother faced with an impossible choice. That's what justice should be. Not blind, but seeing, really seeing all the factors, all the context, all the humanity. So let me ask you this. If you were Judge Caprio, what would you have done? Would you have stepped down from that bench or kept your distance? Comment below. I'm genuinely curious. And if this story moved you, if it made you feel something, do me a favor, hit that like button, share this video, subscribe to All Rise, because these are the stories that need to be told. Stories of people who choose compassion over convenience, who choose humanity over protocol. We post videos like this every week. Real courtroom stories, real people, real justice. Your support keeps these stories alive. Every view, every like, every share helps us reach more people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. And remember, the next time you see someone struggling to be heard, be like Judge Caprio. Step down from your bench. Meet them where they are. See them. That's what changes the world. One person at a time. I'm All Rise, and I'll see you in the next one. At the end of this video, 2 more incredible courtroom stories will appear on your screen. Click one and keep watching. Trust me, you won't regret it. Judge Frank Caprio passed away in August 2025 at the age of 87. His legacy lives on in the thousands of lives he touched with his compassion and humanity. This story, like so many others, reminds us that one person choosing kindness can change everything. Rest in peace, Judge Caprio. The world was better because you were in it.